girls in distress. I'm pretty powerful and ready for success. So what is more offensive? A little girl saying or the on equal and sexist way. Society treats girls and women. Women are paid 23% less than men for the exact same work. Society teaching girls that our bodies, boobs and butts are more important than our brains leads us to thinking our worth comes from our waistlines. My aspirations in life should not be worrying about the shape of my...
Here with reaction from the Fox Business Network Imus in the Morning producer, Bernard McGurk, Fox News contributor, our friend Tamara Holder, and our other friend, Dege McDowell. How are you guys?
Great. I have some colorful words I'd like to share about that. This ad that...
I mean, really? Well, how does that advance feminism?
It doesn't. It sells T-shirts. This is a for-profit company run by some branding company that's selling anti-sexism collection of T-shirts and sweatshirts with some proceeds going to charities.
What parent would have let their young daughter do that?
Yeah. No, don't look at me.
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
I actually agree with Dagan. And I think this is insane. I cannot imagine allowing your kid to actually try out. Like, how do you say the F word the right way? And it's just bizarre. They put them in little ballerina outfits and makeup. It's weird.
It's disgusting. It's obnoxious. And the morons who made it should be arrested, locked up for child abuse.
Yeah.
And the parents for exploiting their own kids and getting paid.
Don't you hate those pageant kids, too? I mean, when they're dressing them up that way.
Hey, now you're in my wheelhouse.
No.
South.
You agree, right?
Don't alienate the whole South.
No. I'm talking about the little itty, like the John Benet Ramseys with the makeup and the bleached hair and it's horrible.
As far as the vulgarity, it probably sounds like, you know, The View during a commercial break, the set of The View with the way these girls However, listen, they are cowards, and I'll tell you why. Because they say that it's just, girls shouldn't be assessed by the size of their boobs, their butts, etc. Go after the entertainment industry. Go after the music industry.
Go after the fashion industry.
And that's the thing.
Exactly,
they're ruining the message. The message here is that there are issues of domestic violence, as we know with Ray Rice and that conversation.
What does that have to do with this?
Well, but that's, if you watch this ad, that's what the girls were talking about, was that they were the little girls. Yes, it was a message.
Little girls don't even need to know those words or know about domestic abuse.
I'm not defending it, Sean. I'm just saying that they've ruined the message. That there is a message here.
All right,
I look down on young women with husbands and kids, and I'm not sorry. And she just talks about essentially that stay-at-home moms, they're wasting their
overrated.
Lives. Yeah.
No, don't work
not
very
real
hard.
work.
Go get a job.
Said.
That's when you have it all.
Yeah. Right. You know, I was thinking about this, and first of all, I don't know who this woman is, but she does represent the kind of angry core of today's feminists, right? And it reminds me of you know, the women's studies people back in college, and they seem so unhappy all the time, right? The only choice that they really celebrate when you get right down to it is maybe you know, the choice to abort. And maybe the choice to redistribute wealth, maybe the choice to, you know, to have gay marriage or non-traditional marriage. Those choices, I think they support. But other than that, they're really not for freedom or liberty or women doing what they think is best for their families. And I think you know, we all know that, you know, two-parent families are ideally the best. Look, I don't have a conventional family, so I don't want to wag my finger and judge anybody. But I mean, the statistics are that, you know, two-parent families are, you know, just the ideal. And if you can't do that, you have to figure out other ways to compensate. But it's crazy.
Isn't it kind of a faux feminism, though, for women to be attacking one another just because they happen to have a different way of life or career?
Right, but Elizabeth, I mean, come on. Like, you know, you're working for Fox. You know, you're this beautiful, incredibly talented person. I mean, they see you as kind of someone who belongs in the Smithsonian, right? Like, nobody in their right mind who's a woman.
Before Concealer gets on here.
Right, should be working for, you know, this Fox News, the Death Star. So, but this is the way they think, and it's not the way, obviously, most women think. Right. But it is interesting because we've gone a long way from, you know, Betty Friedan and the feminist mystique to this. You know, again, marriage is imprisonment. You know, the traditional lifestyles are really enslaving women when, you know, a lot of these women are just happier, and this is the way they want to live their lives. And what we really need is an economy that's growing. That's what we really need.
Yeah, I know you only go to college football games, so I'm not going to ask you to predict the Super Bowl, but I'm going to ask you to predict this. What, if anything, gets done this year? Portions of immigration, tax reform, entitlement reform. What do you think gets done?
Well, what I fear will get done is an immigration quote reform, which ultimately makes lives for the middle class and the unemployed, the low-wage workers, a lot more difficult. I fear that John Boehner, Eric Cantor, Paul Ryan are in concert with big business, Chamber of Commerce types, and are going to cut a deal with the Democrats, and that's going to really, mark my words, that will divide the Republican Party like you haven't seen for probably 7 or 8 years. It's a perilous course that they're on, and they're going to give Obama a huge lifeline and a huge gift. So that's what I'm concerned about. I think Republicans should basically say we can't trust this administration. They go back on their word. They go around the rule of law. We are going to explain what we're going to do for this country when we take the Senate. And other than that, unless the president kind of moves to the middle a little bit, we're just not going to work with him. I think that's the better play.
Okay. All right. Laura Ingraham just getting ready for her radio show. It starts about 50 minutes from right now. Laura, by the way, I was kidding about school out. Your kids got to go to school.
Oh, my gosh. I was like going to get on my phone and going, oh, my gosh, my kids aren't going to school. Doocy, I'm going to get you for that.
I've never seen you afraid before.
Yeah, my goodness. That was scary. Thanks, guys.
Have a great week. See you back here next week.
Whenever a woman of this kind of stature comes out and starts talking about feminism, she says she wants to sort of create a rebirth of feminism, a new generation of feminists in this country. It raises a question, and Liz, I want to start with you. Do we need it? Do we need that?
You know, what she was saying was so interesting last night at 60 Minutes, whether or not we need it. She's saying, yes, we need it. You know, 1 out of 7 corporate officer positions are held by women. That number has stayed about flat for the last 10 years. But what she is saying, it's a women's problem. It's a women's fault. That women are essentially saying, listen, the reason why I succeeded is because I worked hard and I've had luck and help from others. But it wasn't my own skills. That's essentially was her message. And that was her own epiphany last night. She thought, maybe I am the reason, the way I think. You know, I have been looking at this for a long time. I created the world's most powerful women's list at Forbes, which Sheryl Sandberg was on and has been on. So, you know, we've heard that from women routinely, but we are hearing from different women who have different responses around the world. We're hearing from different women who have different responses around the world. Women who run entire governments who are saying, you know what, yeah, we are the problem, yes, but it's also we have to change the mindset, too. We're going to start leading whole governments around the world.
We have led whole governments around the world. Yeah. I mean, you know, you look at Great Britain, you look at places all around the world where there have been plenty of female leaders, and there are a lot of women who opt out of the workforce. Okay, so to me, that 1 in 7 number is questionable. I see far fewer barriers to women. And I feel like, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Melissa, I don't love the idea of feminism. I think it still sort of separates us and asks us to be judged as women rather than as, you know, a great panel, as I just introduced you guys, you know?
You know, I've known Sheryl forever. We went to Harvard together. She is a brilliant, brilliant, driven woman. I think that one of the things that's missing from this discussion that you're hinting at is that women just make different choices. I mean, you just come along and you decide that there are only 24 hours in a day, and there's only so much you want to commit to your career, and there's so much that you want to be home, and much you want to commit to your career, and there's so much that you want to be home, and maybe it's your own choice why you are not the CEO because you chose a different job that allowed you to have more time with your family. I mean, I didn't choose to be a 60 Minutes reporter because if I had struggled for that, I wouldn't be home at night. You know, I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of, along the way, you say, well, maybe if I aim for this instead of this, I'll have more time at home.
Yeah, but you know, it's interesting how you put it, Martha, about the approach about feminism, because when we did that list at Forbes and started it, we didn't want to take the feminist approach. We wanted to say what women have already accomplished. And, you know, it's interesting, there are barriers, whether it's a glass ceiling or a concrete roof that women are up against. You know, what we're seeing, for example, overseas when women run governments, they are selected via the parliamentary system. They're not put out to a popular vote or, you know, a vote that we have like here in the United States. So cliques of powerful men or picking them. We see that in Bangladesh. But, you know, I think what we've seen time and again from the women is they don't want to have the feminist approach to succeeding. They want to succeed on their own power and their own skills. And we've seen that, you know, from women running PepsiCo, women running other companies, Muslim women running banking conglomerates in the Middle East, which is remarkable.
Let's take a look at what Maureen Dowd had to say in her sort of Maureen Dowdish, snarky kind of way, you might say. But she said she has a grandiose plan to become the PowerPoint Pied Piper in Prada ankle boots, reigniting the women's revolution, Betty Friedan for the digital age. She wants women to stop limiting and sabotaging themselves. She, you know, had a very negative opinion of this. She said, you know, grassroots movements don't start from the top down. They start from the bottom up, in Maureen's opinion.
I mean, most of the backlash that Cheryl has received has been because she's talking about working harder and driving yourself. And, you know, she has $1 billion. So it's easy for her to have a whole staff that's sitting at home and is doing the other things. And it's difficult to translate that message to women who are having difficulty making ends meet. When you have somebody at home having difficulty making ends meet, when you have somebody at home, you know, that's able to...
Obviously, she has to have acknowledged that. I don't think she...
You know what I don't get about Maureen Dowd's column? Why is she saying that it's wrong to wear Prada at work and that in some way sabotages a woman? It doesn't. Do whatever it takes. And the thing is, with also what we found, too, is that women are very, very, of course, respectful, the working woman and the women who choose to stay at home and run families. In fact, Michelle Bachelet, who runs Chile, wanted to have even retirement benefits for women who chose to stay home and run family and oversee the growth of their families and helping their families, because they thought that was the most important job of all. But to be so dismissive about a woman's choice to wear whatever designer she wants to wear to work, so what? Yeah. I mean, I thought that was a wrong place to take that
Would you say that about the man's Gucci shoes or the man's... I mean, it is.
I'll tell you something.
Ridiculous.
If men had to put up with what women have to put up with, there would be a 4-day work week already. That's what I said.
Oh, my Lord.
And there's no 4-day work weeks here. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Liz, Melissa, we'll be talking about it more, I'm sure. Thanks so much for being here.
And she also said in that piece last night that women are not as good at negotiating a contract up front as men are.
She said you should smile and say we instead of I when you negotiate a contract.
And, she was about to take the first offer from Facebook, and I guess it was her husband or her brother-in-law said, no, wait a minute here.
Well, you know, I had a Wall Street CEO say, listen, men are used to being rejected starting out in the schoolyard when they go up to little girls to ask them out for a date. Women aren't used to that. They didn't have those early
women
lessons,
get their
right?
way. That's what I'm talking about.